much about them from them for a couple of months. Now, their PR people must have told them that, well, quite apart from the pity party market being largely saturated, it doesn't look good for you to be saying we're the biggest victims in the world when thousands of Ukrainian civilians are being killed. But anyway, remember His Royal Highness Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, he couldn't possibly come back for his grandfather's memorial service early this month, it marking the first anniversary of Prince Philip's death because of security concerns. Remember, the British taxpayer was not going to foot the bill for bodyguards for him, and so he said, fine, I will pick up the tab for myself. Makes a change. But nevertheless, Her Majesty's government said, no, we shan't do that. These close personal protection teams, they're not a service for hire. You know, you've opted out of the royal family. You've agreed not even to use the HRH handle. Yes, you're still a Prince of the United Kingdom and you're still the Duke of Sussex, but we're not doing that. You're no longer senior royals. You're not carrying out any public duties on behalf of the royal family whatsoever. You want to live in California, fine. So you can come, you're allowed to come to the UK anytime as a private citizen. He's a British citizen, but they're not going to provide any security whether he pays for it or not. So it was far too risky for him to go to that memorial service at Westminster Abbey. That was what he claimed, which is ludicrous, of course. He could have landed at Heathrow Airport. It's a 10-minute drive from Windsor Castle to Windsor Castle. I mean, who's going to know when he's arriving, or even a private jet to Farnborough? Though he's a real environmentalist. Would he take a private jet? And then you'd be in a car with other members of the royal family going to Westminster Abbey. They've got their bodyguards around you. That's going to protect you. But no, he couldn't possibly do that. So, well, for some reason, it's perfectly safe for him to go to the Netherlands. He could be assassinated there too. Now, I don't want him or Meghan to be assassinated, to come to any physical harm whatsoever. I realise that there are those with malign intent out there, ISIS or Al-Qaeda types who want to kill them, or just crazy people think they should kill royals. They're so short-sighted part of the firm, they are leaving themselves vulnerable by doing that. As in, the firm are vulnerable by what? By not providing security for free, or what? The firm being the royal family. But nevertheless, Meghan and Harry, they are willing to go to the Netherlands for the Invictus Games, as a meaning like unconquered in Latin. Remember, this is for disabled ex-military personnel. It's a bit like the Paralympics. So over 500 athletes from 20 countries will be there, mostly NATO countries. And it's because of William Ernest Henley's poem, Invictus, I am the master of my fate, I'm the captain of my soul. But you'd have thought that's slightly un-PC. William Ernest Henley, he was permanently disabled. I think he had no legs or something, although he was massively powerful, built to be a very tall man, but wheelchair-bound all his life. And notoriously, it was quoted by Timothy McVeigh right before he was executed in 2001 for the Oklahoma City bombings. So the Invictus Games is really Prince Harry's version of the US Warrior Games. So yes, they could be kidnapped by a terrorist, held for ransom, etc. Okay, yeah, and I know there's some people who are mentally ill who get obsessed with members of the royal family as in want to kill them or want to kill any celebrity. Mark Chapman was a case in point. So Prince Harry is going to the Netherlands for this, but he's not getting security there. He's in danger in the Netherlands as well as in the UK. He'd be at risk there, and he's not going as a guest of the Dutch royal family. He's staying in a hotel. So how come that's not a risk after all? So it seems to me this whole thing about security worries as a reason for him not to be able to go to the UK was a calculated snub towards his own blood family. And another point, it's just come to light that he actually did visit the UK very recently. It was meant to be doing it incognito, to kiss and make up with his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, who's turning 96 in just a few days, a woman who's increasingly infirm, who can scarcely walk. Do you believe that the rumours they're demanding appearance fees? I'd be surprised. I don't believe them. I don't know them to be false. Have you many videos about Meghan and Harry? You seem to loathe them. Why and when did this hate start? Well, hate would be too strong a word. I've disliked them from quite soon after they got married. Prince Harry, I was never terribly impressed by him, but he was a cheeky chappy, a figure of fun, and he's gone from being the most popular to the most unpopular member of the House of Windsor. So quite soon after they got married, I think it all went wrong. Them being flagrantly hypocritical, them being too controversial. And incidentally, the rest of the House of Windsor is not immune from criticism when it comes to me. I think they've all got they've all done things wrong. Has anybody heard of Prince Andrew? You know, Prince Charles has done bad things, like he's made contentious statements. Nothing is like the press, Papo, and wild goings on in London. I'm sure security is much cheaper in the Netherlands. We're conflating two different things. I mean, being followed by the media is not an assassination threat. And by the way, as a royal, it's your job to be in the news. And Prince Harry and Meghan, they certainly caught the media. You know, Meghan, I want privacy, so I'm going on Oprah to bare my soul to this agony aunt and tell everybody my most intimate goings on. No, 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 you can't invade my privacy and publish my private correspondence. And by the way, here's lots of my private correspondence with my dad that I'm going to publish. So always contradicting themselves is really quite shocking. So I dislike them for that. Too willful. Meghan's taken over his mind. I mean, it's okay to persuade people, you can convince people, but Harry, he's become like sort of a parrot for her. I remember what he was like before, not very PC, doing things which were in questionable taste. He had the unwisdom that was typical of a young man, as he was taking cocaine and cannabis, wearing that swastika armband to that New Year's party, which I don't think was that bad. I know Nazism was dreadful, but he was making a tit of himself. That was the idea, being silly. It was lampooning National Socialism. It wasn't exalting it, I think, I hope. Pretty much no one cares over here. Where are you, Patty Tracy? Are you in the United States? And he knew the habits of the gentlemen of the press and the ladies of the press, taking them out to the pub, picking up the tab, so that they liked that. But there was a lot wrong with him, and I can see he had childhood trauma. His parents had a sordid, very public divorce, the most public divorce of all time. He was 12 years old when his mother died in that car crash. He was made to walk behind her casket in that funeral procession. I don't know how he didn't cry. So everyone should have some sympathy for him, as anyone, a human in that situation, would deserve some compassion. But he's done other foolish things, contradicted himself, been hypocritical, and weighed in on very controversial issues when they shouldn't be doing that. They should only open their mouth to opine if they're saying what the British government wants them to say, because monarchies to be seen and not heard, only acting on the advice of ministers. And they've taken sides in various areas where things are very heated. And Meghan and Harry said, oh, we'll always support the Queen of the Monarchy. So why are you undermining her? Why are you making these calculated insults towards her with not turning up to that memorial service? Yet it's absolutely fine for you to go to the Netherlands the very next week with no security whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense at all. Right, thank you so much for watching my channel. Toodaloo.